sir. My name is Ranaya Chalisthalia Priandana, and my student number is 23130422075. And today I'm going to explain again about what I have learned in the translation theory of translation class. So the first translation theory is about how we translate a text from one language to another correctly and also naturally. And the goal is not only to change the words into the target language, but also to transfer the real meaning and message so the reader in the target language can understand it clearly and also easily. And next, I will explain the focus of translation theory. A good translation has a good quality and it must be clear, natural, and easy to understand. While a bad translation usually sounds strange, awkward, confusing, and we need to know that translation is made for the reader, not for us, the translator. So we must always consider who will read the text. And the next, naturalness is also very important because the translation should sound like normal everyday language and not like a direct language, not like a direct translation. And we must also follow the frequency rule, which means we prefer common and familiar words that people use often. And the meaning must stay true to the original text, so the accuracy is very important in translating. And sometimes we use paraphrase to explain ideas more clearly. And we also need to understand jargon, which is special vocabulary in certain fields, such as medical or technology terms, maybe like umbilical cord or RAM data and many more. And a good translator also must make good word choices depending on the context. An ideal translation is accurate, natural, and easy to read. However, sometimes there is language mystery, which means some meanings are very difficult to translate because of cultural differences between the two languages. And I will move to the next, which is elements of a good translation. Now I will explain the elements. The first one is meaning. The message must stay the same. For example, I am tired should change to saya lelah without changing the idea. And the second is form. This is about sentence structure. Sometimes we change an active voice to passive voice to make it sound more natural in the target language, which is fine. And the third is idiom. An idiom is an expression that cannot be translated literally. For example, break a leg does not mean patahin salah satu kaki. It means good luck. And the fourth is nuance, which is a small differences in meaning. For example, angry is not as strong as furious. We need to keep that feeling. And the next is style and also clarity. The translation must match the original style and still be easy to understand. If the text is if the text has the settings of a medieval English, so we need to translate it with the proper vocabulary and also sentence structures. And then there is the linguistic aspect, which includes grammar and correct sentence structure in both languages. And after that, there is culture. So the translation must fit the culture of the target readers. And then jargon, which I already said, special terms that must be translated correctly in their specific fields. And there is simplicity. The translation should be clear and not too complicated because the final translation should sound natural as if it was written by a native speaker of the target language. And next, I will move to translation methods. There was around like 7 or 8. The first one is word for word translation, which means we translate the word directly, like I said before, break a leg, patahkan sebuah kaki. And then faithful and semantic translation focus on keeping the original meaning and context as accurately as possible. And then there is free translation, which is more flexible. It allows some changes to make the meaning more clearer to the reader. And also there is idiomatic translation, which uses natural language or natural expressions and idioms that people usually use in the target language. And there is communicative translation, which focuses on making the message easy to understand to the reader. And also there is adaptation translation, which changes the text to fit the cultural context better, for example in stories, plays, or movies. And then there is the principle of translation. The main principle of translation is that the translation must be as readable as the original word, which means the translation should be smooth, natural, and easy to understand for the target language. I'm going to move to functions of language. It was explained according to Newmark. The first one, there is expressive function, which shows the writer's feelings or opinions. And then there is aesthetic function, which focuses in beauty of language, like poetry or literature. And then there is informative function, which gives facts or information, like in news articles. And then there is vocative function, which tries to influence or persuade the reader by, for example, by this now. And there is metalingual function, which functions to explains the language itself, like when we explain rules in English. And there is also fatigue function, which builds social context such as greetings. And I will move to text analysis next. Before translating, we as the translator must do text analysis, which is a very important step. And first, we need to read the text carefully several times, and then we understand the writer's intention for example, whether the text is informative or persuasive, or are the text arguing something. And the third, we decide our translation strategy. And the fourth, we identify the style of the text. Is it formal or is it informal? So we can choose which kind of language we can use. And then the fifth, we consider the target readers, because different readers needs different kind of language. And the sixth, we understand the settings, including situations and the context when the text was written. And I think that's all from the text analysis. In conclusion, translation is a process of transferring a meaning from a certain language to the target language. A good translation must be accurate, not natural, and easy to understand. That is all for today. Thank you very much, sir.